Hey folks, this is Rhykker with yet another Sombra Overwatch ARG update. Yesterday, I posted a video about how that 2-month-long countdown wait finally came to an end, only for us to receive basically nothing. But today, October 19th, the ARG continued in a huge way. Here's the too long didn't watch version that excludes spoilers. We were presented with some new puzzles, the puzzles were solved, and in a week from now, we can expect some new puzzles or otherwise something new in this ARG. That's the TLDW. Now let's dig into the meat of this. But first, if you'll permit me, I just want to preempt certain comments. The ones that'll be like, lol, Rhykker late again, everyone already posted videos on this yesterday. Look, I'm not a channel that spends 30 minutes on a video just to splooge whatever shit onto YouTube as quickly as possible. To be the YouTuber equivalent of first. I'm a channel that spends literally 8 hours making a video in order to give you guys something with a little bit more substance than what could be covered in a tweet. Okay, on to the exciting developments of October 19th. It all started when, literally moments after my video went live, the A Moment in Crime website's source updated. Remember how that version number was missing the final 2 digits? Well, suddenly they appeared, and it was around that time that we then received an Overwatch patch. And now the Overwatch version number corresponds to that same patch number in the source code. So people figured something must have happened in-game, and it was eventually found that if you play as Bastion on the map Dorado, and you go over to those Protocol Sombra screens back in the Lumerical power plant, well, there's one particular screen. And you can't do this anymore. It was patched out within a couple hours. But back then, there was one particular screen, this one here that you'll see in the footage, right over the bridge. I think it's the biggest screen. That if you play as Bastion and move in front of that, Bastion begins to beep and boop. You can see this happen in this clip when I was live streaming. Ah! Okay. So that's a real thing. Whoops. Now, for anyone who may not know, Morse Code is a way of delivering information through a series of sound pulses or light pulses. It was developed way back when the electrical telegraph was invented, which was an early precursor to the telephone, but that could only transmit electrical pulses as opposed to actual voice. So Samuel Morse, in an effort to develop a system of communication with this, figured, okay, well, we can have a short pulse where you just press the button, beep, and we can have a longer pulse where you hold your finger down for a moment, beep, and he then went about assigning some pattern of pulses to every letter in the alphabet. So the letter A would be one short pulse followed by a long pulse, beep, beep, and the letter B would be a long pulse followed by 3 short pulses, beep, 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 beep. A long pulse, which is visually represented as a dash, is the equivalent in duration of 3 short pulses, which are represented visually by dots. Individual letters are then separated by 3 short pulses, or 1 long pulse, and words are separated by the equivalent of 7 short pulses, or dots. So, if we listen to Bastion's beeping and booping, keeping all that in mind, what do we hear? Now, some people are better at deciphering this visually, so we can actually examine the waveforms to further help us decode this. So you see that we start with a ... that's an S. My shouting messed up the next waveform, but it's ... which is a Q. Then we have ... S. Then ... an F. And so on and so on. And you keep deciphering all this until you finally get this string of letters. Okay, well, what do we do with this? Seems to be some kind of encrypted message. Well, a game detective by the name of Crab, or username of Crab, figured out that this was encrypted with a Visionaire cipher, which we've seen Sombra use in the past. For instance, with the question mark achievement, we used that cipher in order to obtain the Volskaya data mosh image. And we've covered all this in a past video, along with explaining exactly what a Visionaire cipher is. So if you want more info on that, do check out that video. For now, suffice it to say that in order to decrypt this kind of cipher, you need a password. So great, now we need a password. Is this just another dead end, like the tracer trail, where we needed some kind of password and just couldn't figure it out? Would we have to wait for a future clue to find this password? Well, it turns out we already had the password. If you'll remember, back when amomentincrime.com started transmitting at the end of August, we saw this comment in the source code. Well done, you have my password. Hacking this television program was meaningless. Wait for what is coming. Remember that? Back then, we didn't really know what she meant by, you have my password. Password to what? And what was the password? Well, the last thing that was solved before that was the 2 skulls, which was a massive undertaking. And again, we covered this in a past video. But the solution to the skulls was Sombra, information is power, in what appeared to be leet speak. So this is what it looked like. Now, many of us just interpret this to be a message and nothing more. Just Sombra continuing her sort of motto, information is power. She who holds the information holds the power. And we let it slip from our minds, but Game Detective Crab tried to use that, the LeetSpeak version, as the password for this Visionaire cipher. And bam, here's the result. Access www.lumerico.mx. And it turns out this is an actual URL. You can visit this website, lumerico.mx, go there yourself, and this is what we see. It's a pretty basic website. It's in Spanish. It's for Lumerico, which is an energy company in the Overwatch universe. They built fusion power plants in Mexico to deliver clean, free energy to the people, allegedly. And when you play on the map Dorado, you're actually delivering a fusion core to power the plant in the ziggurat. So on the main page of the site, the message here roughly translates to Lumerico is a truly resilient network and energy enterprise that is working very hard to illuminate the path for all of Mexico. They have a news page that has 2 posts. First post 2 days ago, service interruption. We have received reports of Omnic customers suffering small interruptions of service, including the possible transmission of a strange sound. Could it be the Morse Code beeps and boops? We have no information to report at this time, but we are investigating the cause of the issue. Second post from 5 days ago. Dorado plant begins service on November 1st. With the completion of inspections and final safety approvals, it has been determined that November 1st will be the date of the opening of the Lumerico nuclear plant. All residents of Dorado and surrounding areas, see service maps for more information, will automatically be transferred to the new system with rates as previously announced. To commemorate this occasion, Lumerico will be hosting an event on the same day with the presence of President Guillermo Portero. More details will be revealed in the near future. Under the page about the company, we see Lumerico. Lumerico was founded with a mission to provide Mexico with a modern network infrastructure through clean energy and internet access to the entire country at an affordable price. We provide services to communities throughout Mexico, and we are committed to ensure that everyone is connected. We work hard every day to get additional parts of the country on the national grid. When complete, it is expected that Lumerico will operate one of the world's largest energy and internet networks. I'll note again here, folks, that this translation is approximate. It's based on me using Google Translate and 3 years of Spanish in high school. Next, about Guillermo Portero. Guillermo Portero, a hero who led a troop during the Omnic crisis, was elected president of Mexico shortly before the end of the crisis, and pledged to rebuild the country's heavily damaged infrastructure. After his term, Portero founded Lumerico to continue the work that had begun during his leadership of the country. Under his rule, Lumerico has continued its progress toward its goal of creating a more prosperous and modern Mexico. Then at the top, you have a login page, and at the bottom, a phone number to contact. Now, if you call this phone number, here's the somewhat ominous message that you hear.
Gracias por llamar al soporte técnico de Numérico. Por favor, seleccione una de las siguientes opciones. 5, 2, 4, 1, 3. 23, 4, 14, 8, 6, 18, 17, 23, 21, 18, 15.
So she starts by saying, "Thank you for calling Lumerico Tech Support. Please select," and then the distortion starts. Once the distortion stops cutting her off, you can hear her reading off a series of numbers. 52413, there's a pause, and then a bunch more numbers. Because there was this pause, it was assumed that these two should be separated, that this wasn't one string of numbers, but two separate pieces of information. And if we take a look at that second bit, something you notice is that the numbers seem to fall in the range of 1 to 26. In other words, they seem to be corresponding to the alphabet, or it's a fair theory. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. If A is number 1, Z is number 26, then let's go ahead and transcribe every number into a letter. This is what we get. Doesn't look like much, right? Just more gibberish? Well, if we use a rotation encryption, we may get somewhere. Rotation encryption is really basic. It's when you substitute one letter for another letter in the alphabet, some fixed number of spots away. So for instance, if the rotation would be 1, in other words, you displace by 1, A would be B, B would be C, and so on and so on. So if we're going to try a rotation encryption, what number can we try here? How about Sombra's lucky number 23? So moving forward 23 is the same as moving backwards by 3. Since there's 26 letters in the alphabet, 23 minus 26 is 3. So just to do this mentally here, our first letter is a W. So if we go to the left by 3, we got Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T. So T. Next we have a D, D, C, B, A. D becomes A. So now our first two letters have changed from WD to a T and an A. And if we keep going through for every single letter, this is what we get. Take control. Gasp. So what do we do with this take control? Well, if we add it to the end of the URL we have, lumerico.mx/takecontrol, we're directed to this index.html page and the take control subfolder on the website. Now this is looking familiar, isn't it? But it's clearly more encrypted text. But if you look through the characters, you see punctuation, you see Spanish characters like the ñ, the N with a squiggly over it. And overall, you kind of get the impression that this is basically a letter scramble. It's like one really, really, really long anagram. So how can we make sense of this? Well, remember how that telephone lady gave us two separate sets of numbers? That first set was 5 numbers, and they were 5, 2, 4, 1, 3. Notice anything odd about that? It's the numbers 1 through 5, just rearranged. This is suggestive of a key for a columnar transposition cipher. Now what the hell is that? Well, it's when you take a message and you write it out in a grid of columns and rows. In this case, since we have 5 numbers, that means 5 columns. So for instance, the phrase, "I'm never going to give you up, I'm never going to let you down," would look something like this. So once you've got this column format, now comes the transposition. We're going to rearrange the columns, and this is what gives us our key. So if we take the 5th column and move it into the first position, then the first number in the key is 5. If column 2 remains where it is, then the second number in the key is 2. If column 4 becomes the 3rd column, then 4 is the 3rd number in the key, and so on and so on. Now, once we're done rearranging the columns to finally arrive at our encrypted message, we write out all the letters, starting with the first column and working our way down vertically. So instead of reading from top left to top right, then down to the next row, we start at the top left again, but then read vertically down, column, 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 column. And you end up with this beautiful line of gibberish. So that's the kind of cipher we think we're working with. How do we solve it? Well, I just showed you how to encrypt a message using this method, and when you know the key, decryption is just as easy. It's just a little tedious to have to write everything out in that format. So thankfully, this website will do that for you. So when we take the take control encrypted message and use the 52413 key in this columnar transposition cipher, here's the message we get. Reading through it, it does seem like Spanish and does seem correct. It's missing spaces, but otherwise seems fine. So if we add spaces and then translate the message into English, we get, "I'm congratulating you for getting here. I only wanted to know if you were ready or not. Hey, it's really difficult to get good help lately. You should see some of the clowns I'm working with." For now, let's continue with the true challenge, taking down Lumerico core president Guillermo Portero. Why? Because he's a greedy and corrupt man and an abominable thief. His plan of bringing in line the most powerful and biggest ziggurat the 1st of November is nothing more than a deceit, an elaborate plan by his gang to become even more influential in the people of Mexico and to get more money. And who's going to pay for that? Common people. The ones that are always forgotten. I've started upgrading my protocols so that they are used to take down the Lumerico core infrastructure, and Los Muertos are also trying to go against the corruption. Meanwhile, search the Lumerico core site for info we can use against the bastard. Or better, get his username and password so that hundreds of not-so-favorable facts about the president start popping up. I was able to get the username and password of a Lumerico core employee. Start here. And then she gives us a username and password. Bam. Thank you, Sombra. So now we have login credentials for that login page. G Flores, put in the password, G hashtag etc., and you'll see that you're successfully logged in the top right, user account G Flores. Now you click on Welcome G Flores and you can read his email. He has 9 in total that you can read. The first email is reporting an issue with Guillermo's page. The second email reports strange behavior in the department's repositories. Some code changes that were unplanned and not made by someone in the group. The third just talks about a new espresso machine. The fourth indicates that a certain URL on the Lumerico domain is seeing unusually high traffic, and that Guillermo is the only one who should have access to it. The fifth is just about the espresso machine again. The sixth is a message from Guillermo thanking everyone for working overtime and giving them a paid vacation. I don't know, Sombra, but this seems like a pretty nice guy. The seventh is just an exchange about a package. The eighth is, once again, about that damn espresso machine. And the ninth is a message from Guillermo about celebrating the opening of the power plant on November 1st. So from this, the only ARG relevant info is that URL. lumerico.mx/president-bypass. Now, if we visit that link, we get an access denied page, as expected. Though what is not expected is that it says if you keep trying to log in, you'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I guess Sombra is right about this guy. But is that it? Is this another dead end? Nah, of course not. Let's check the source code. See that line in there? President auth bypass revision 1.02/.git? Well, the .git suggests we might have a GIT repository. And thank goodness this guy's security measures are complete garbage. So we go to the URL lumerico.mx/president-bypass/.git. We get this page, which effectively tells us nothing. However, we could try to pull stuff from that GIT. Now, in software development, GIT is a system that controls changes to documents. Very basically. So, more importantly, if we can download the site's GIT repository, we can download a copy of the data files on the website. And thankfully, we can do just that with this handy tool found on GIT Hub. What we then gain access to are 3 files. Style.css, which is just a style sheet. It basically just helps determine what a website looks like. Nothing special there. But the other 2 are .php files, and those handle scripts. In class.authentication.php, we see an encryption function. And in class.president-bypass.php, we can actually find Guillermo Portero's encrypted password. Normally, an encrypted password is a huge problem. This is why when a website is compromised and passwords are accessed, it's generally not a big deal because the passwords are encrypted, and decrypting that kind of stuff is a nightmare. But in this case, we actually have the script that shows us how the passwords are encrypted. So then you just have to write a script that reverses the steps to encrypting. And some super smart, script-savvy game detectives did just this, and so they ran the encrypted password through the decryption script that they made, and they got this result. So if you use this password with G. Portero's login account, we're able to log in and check his email. And the first email is from Sombra, directed to us. Titled, "Good job." It reads, "I see that you've been able to infiltrate his email. Don't worry, he can't see this email. I've hidden it from view if you connect from one of the known IP addresses." Let's hope he doesn't use a proxy. I need a little bit more time to set the next group of protocols. Stay tuned, early next week, I'll take some of the dirty laundry from their emails to be filtered to the public accidentally. We'll see how the media reacts to that. The second email is just that same email that he sent to everyone about the overtime and paid vacation. Third email is just organizing and planning for that paid vacation. The fourth email, Guillermo is asking someone, how long on average of vacation do people take per year? And the fifth email is that other message he sent to everyone about the celebration day, November 1st. And that's it, folks. That's where we are. Wow. Now, this was worth waiting for. Yesterday, I posted a video saying that we waited, 2 months for basically nothing. And I stand by what I said at the time. Even given that this has happened, I still feel that yesterday we were right in feeling the way we felt. It was like 20 hours later that all this happened. If all this had happened yesterday, on schedule, then no one would have been upset, or at least I wouldn't have been upset, and a lot of people wouldn't have been. The people expecting Sombra's release might have been, but a lot of us just wanted to see the ARG continue, and this is an amazing continuation. I really think that Blizzard hit a snag, and they had to make a last-minute delay. For whatever reason, all this wasn't ready for yesterday. Because again, they specifically slowed the timer, targeted 3 p.m. Tuesday, and I think sneaking in that version number was just a subtle way of telling us to wait for the next update. But you know how Sombra left us a message here through this email saying, hold on, I'm working on some more protocols, expect something next week? That's the kind of communication that would have been so welcome yesterday. Regardless though, the ARG is back on track, folks. We've learned some awesome stuff about Sombra, her intentions, what she's doing, her possible allies, her enemies, this lore of this conspiracy with Lumerico and Los Muertos and all this political intrigue. It's like we're living a Netrunner campaign. I just can't wait to see what happens next, what's gonna come next week. And do stay tuned for next week's video to learn the continuation. But what do you guys think about all this? Leave a comment with your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. Check out these other videos. And subscribe to join Rhyker's Raiders to stay informed on all things Sombra. And it's happened. It's finally happened. The real Sombra leak has happened, folks. Here it is. You're looking at it right here, right now. While this is not 100% confirmed to be real, this looks as real as it gets, and we'll go over why exactly. But right now, folks, this is insane hype for the ARG to end in a leak. Wow. Now we've covered